Hi everyone, I'm Ronan and Jane. Welcome to the Syndicate, a Star Wars podcast. We finally made it happen. I have with me a dear friend of mine, Jon Knight, who has graciously multiple times have had me on his show, on his channel, and I was like, you know what? If I'm starting a new podcast, one of the first people who has to be in it has to be the dude who was kind enough to do that to me, and I'm like, you know what? Return the favor, like Boba and Dinjarin. So, John, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. Sorry, like I said, it took a lot of, pulling of the string and stuff for my hectic ass schedule. Can I cuss on this? I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's all good. Yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
So good to finally be here and talk some nerdism.
Yeah. And we are talking about chapter 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. From the desert comes a stranger. Now, spoilers onwards, folks. If you haven't seen the episode, please watch it and then come back, see our discussion, because we have some thoughts about what this episode means, where it's been leading up, and what it'll come afterwards. So, spoilers onwards, you've been warned. Holy this episode, and I'll put this out of the way, and you can talk about it once I ask for your thoughts. That yes, this is the second best episode, or maybe the best episode of this series of the Book of Boba Fett, and it barely has Boba Fett in it. I understand that. I understand that is might be a pet peeve or a nitpick or something that takes away from hence the title of the show. But I told a couple other fellow Star Wars fans that this, whether you like this in this show or not, you can't deny that it was, for me at least, historic moment where past, present, and future of Star Wars have met. That's something, as someone, as a kid who grew up with this stuff and was very influential with this stuff, meant a lot to me. Now, whether that's a detriment or not, who knows? But I dug this episode. John, what did you think of this episode?
Like everybody else, was losing my damn mind. I loved this episode. I don't know. It's hard to say which one I loved more.
Yeah.
In terms of nostalgia, this one takes it, obviously.
Yeah.
In terms of story and stuff, I'd give it to, what is it, 5?
Yeah.
So it's hard. But overall, I really love the episode. Yeah, it's hard to like just nail it, but I have to separate it. Those how I would.
Right.
But I absolutely loved this episode, like ridiculously.
To me, from a technical point of view, the pacing of it moved for me. It's the second longest episode of the series. It moved. I didn't feel it. Yeah. The cinematography, there are shots, there are moments that I'm like, wow, that's straight out of an inspiration from some other films that I'll reference later. And I want to say this: take away all the eye candy, all the glamour that is these characters, the music and devices, if you will.
Oh, the music.
Yeah. This episode had a simple theme, metaphor, if you will, which is about making a choice. I dug that, and the minute as it ended, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what this is about. That at a certain point in your life, at any point in your life, you have to make a big choice, and it happened to at least 3 of our main characters, or even 4, if you will. Cobb had to make a choice for his people in the town of Freetown. Then, as a father, an adopted father, had to make a choice concerning a son, and Grogu had to make a choice of his path, which leads towards the end. And even to an extent, again, spoilers, Luke Skywalker of what he wanted to do with him being now not just a Jedi Knight, but a teacher. So I dug that, and I read that through all this glamour and stuff, that even if, depending on what people say about it, that this was a nice episode that Dave and John wrote for kids, whether you're in high school or you're in middle school, and it was sprinkled out and painted around with all history of Star Wars. So I love that even someone in their mid-20s still got that message through. And that's something that takes practice, at least for me, and that's something that I've seen in the behind the scenes stuff that Filoni learned from George Lucas, and I appreciate that from that point of view. But what did you think of what they talked about. I mean, there are lines, dude, that I was just like heart, like pulling my strings, man. Like, oh,
yeah, no, for sure. It was, so the story, like you said, was relatively simple throughout. It wasn't really heavy. The point of it was to see where these characters are at and challenge them in different ways. It was good to see all of them as they came along. I freaked shit as each one popped up randomly, but I did love it. It was basically showing, and some of it was still playing into Boba in the background, in terms of getting more, foot soldiers for, the Pikes, and that bled in with Cobb, and now, Bane, and was it Bane? Cobb Bane?
Cad Bane.
Cad Bane. Which was awesome. I didn't watch any of the animated shows, but I know who he is. So I was like, oh, I know that dude.
Yeah, man.
It was very challenging. Like I said, my favorite parts were back when we was with Luke and Grogu and Mando and Ahsoka. When we're back on that island, there was we've gotten a lot of growth and maturity when it comes to Mando in these last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Especially this one. For his choice as a father to do what's best for his son, even though it hurts him, was really something that, tugged at me a bit. I was like, damn, that really sucks, because you can hear it in his voice, like I came all this way, like he's right there.
Yeah.
And to make that sacrifice to do what's best for, his son, inevitably was really tough. And then to know Grogu was like, yo, that's dad over there. Like, I feel him leaving. Like, what's up?
Yeah.
That sucked. But it was beginning the challenges and lessons for Luke as well. Because even some of the shit he was asking him and saying to do, like himself and just Jedis all over, don't necessarily abide by. So I'm just like, dude, like, he can be both. Like,
yes.
There's a man who's literally on your planet who is a bounty hunter and has a saber. Like, you can do whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just, I saw it on Twitter today, and I thought about this when it happened, but I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one. It brought me back to the moment of Obi-Wan and Anakin. I was like, only a Sith deals in absolutes. When Luke is like, you either do this or you don't, buddy. Which one? I'm like, come on, guy. Like, what is this? So yeah, I generally love those themes of, this episode, and at least this one had Boba in it. He didn't say anything, but at least he was in it. So
well, let's lean into that after all this, and we'll get to Ahsoka and Luke and all that stuff. But the fact that now you've seen where the city of Mos Pelgo, or at least now it's called Freetown, and you see what the Pikes are willing to do: hire gun and blow up a sanctuary. Literally, the place is called the sanctuary. So literally blow it up. And that's something that I was just so appreciative. I was concerned, not from my own stakes, because I was digging the episode from the beginning. But when that happened, I'm like, oh, okay, people are, yes, they're still gonna critique it and all that stuff, but it's like, here's where it's going. This is where it's leading up. That the reflections of other people's adventures always has on both these occasions have led back to the Pikes are in this way, in this big planet, and people right now are in different circumstances. What are they going to do when someone that either they know or uncommon about asks them to join forces? So I dug that the Pikes have been ruthless, and they're getting to be ruthless through other people. For example, Cad Bane. And even though, and I get it, Boba didn't say nothing, but to me,
he gave a nod.
That nod means a lot to me. That's something that, like, that's usually people, like even samurais would do that, just nod, be like, all right, I know that you do your own stuff, but I'm thankful that you showed up to have my back. So I appreciated that stuff. And I gotta throw out these references that I felt throughout this episode. The Karate Kid. Anytime Grogu and Luke were doing the thing, I felt Mr. Miyagi and Daniel's son vibes. Cad Bane. Woo! Oh my gosh, man! You said you haven't seen the animated shows yet, right?
Dude. I have not.
Oh man, when you get to those shows, you're gonna
Apparently,
look
he's
back
a
at this
big deal.
episode. Oh man, this you might as well have been putting Ennio Morricone music behind this dude. I mean, that was full on Once Upon a Time in the West vibes during that scene with Cobb
Mm.
Vanth and Cobb
Very
Chpt.
Western. Very Western.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we see R2, and it's just like, oh boy, how are they gonna go about this? And we know Grogu and Luke are near R2. We know that from season 2 of
Mhm.
Mando. And we see Grogu, it's like, oh, there's a kid, and then it cuts to Luke. I gotta admit, I was surprised how good that looked. I know some people may know more technical stuff about it than more than I do, but someone who was shocked by the finale of season 2 and yet recognized that we're not there yet with the CG phase and all that stuff. This looked incredible, dude. To the point
You
that
know,
I
it was
might be
ridiculous.
thinking they might be making it more Mark Hamill and Sebastian Stan, so that when they do, if they do want to do a story with Luke, they have Sebastian Stan to cast, and it's a good um passing of torches, if you will. But I was just blown away of how good that CG looked. Did it throw you off or no?
It didn't throw me off because I expected it to get better. I know
Right.
they hired what's his name, Shamook,
The deep fake guy,
whatever the
right?
hell.
Yeah, from YouTube.
But I was like, God damn, that's really like fucking excellent. Like, a huge step up, and the eyes look a lot more real. They're not as fake and looking. That's always a dead giveaway with
Yeah.
facial replacement is the eyes. But this was spot on. They knew how to shoot around it, like have him speak off camera, things like that. Sometimes when they did, they limited it.
Yes.
Which is
Smartly.
really good. Yeah.
Yes.
Because that made the times where he did speak on camera, like, got it. Like,
Yeah.
I buy this. So no, that aspect of it was amazeballs. I was thoroughly surprised on how well they did that from season 2.
Yes. So good on them to that. I think I still do want to see Sebastian Stan one day take the torch, just because I know how much that must have cost
He
just to
wants
do
to
those.
still.
Right. Right.
So, who knows?
We'll see. Din Djarin is waiting because Archer's like, you gotta wait here. He takes a nap and he wakes up pointing a gun, and what do we see? We see Ahsoka Tano just standing there looking at him, and I was just like, the implications of this is tremendous and whatnot. I'm like, oh my god! Like, if you see my reaction, I was dropping. I was bricks, man. I was like, what does this mean?
And
After
that
all
chick
this,
don't age. I don't know if it's a species
yeah,
or
man.
whatever.
Woo.
I'm like, you have just witnessed 2 generations of Skywalkers, and you barely look like if you age past fucking 30 something. But but yeah, Miss Ahsoka, her fine self. It was very amazing to see her. Did not expect that.
No.
I was like, oh, okay. Hi. We're doing this now. But it was great to see her. Fucking Rosario kills it anytime she just opens her mouth, and just even when she doesn't, just the looks. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
A lot of times I want to punch her in her throat because she was, are you sure? Do you want to? Don't, you can't. So I'm like, stop trying to speak this Jedi sense. Just let him see his son.
Yeah.
But I got it. It was lessons all around, as a Jedi typically likes to do. So I get it, but in the moment, I'm like, no, I want them to have this reunion, but I guess I have to wait for season 3.
And I love her line of like, he's like, what are you doing here? She's like, I'm an old friend of the family. I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
It was really
Oh
good.
man. And I was, oh man. And yes,
It's like, as if you were for him. I was like, that was a good line too. I'm like, damn it. Like, whatever.
Because she has a point. And yet it's sort of that thing where it's like, is she and Luke still? She's not running the academy. She just came to visit. But does she still think the old ways will still work? Because that was the whole thing of everyone's like, we love Luke training Grogu, but this whole thing is the same thing that the Jedi did in the prequels.
Yes.
And they fell to the same problems that led to Anakin going that way. So what will they do this time?
I'm like, bruh, the Jedi ways are flawed. We know this. So it's like, come on. I don't know. Like, we need gray Skywalker, like in Last Jedi, to be teaching him, like, just listen. This is what focus. Don't be so strict. Yada yada yada. More wise and wisdom to his shit. That's what we need right now. Because I'm like, God damn it, let the kid live. But just take on the ways that matter, not the ones that don't, and it's just full of holes, and that you do yourself, sir. So,
but I appreciate that Luke gave him a choice. That I like that it wasn't just like, all right, you're screwed now. You're with us. That's the way it is.
right.
It was just like, I know what this kid means to Mando. I know what the Mando means to this kid, and I'll be like, you know what? As someone who has daddy issues, because my dad was the biggest criminal or the second biggest criminal in the galaxy for a while, and I had to, and he at the very end, he did come back to save me. So I like that even though he is trying to build an academy and knows the rules, that he's just like, listen, I'm gonna give you a choice. And he gave a very factual and plausible explanation. It was like, listen, if you stick around during the Jedi ways, you can't see people because for you a minute or two will be a lifetime for everybody else. Which I was just like, yep, that is true. And talking about lessons, get back up, always get back up. That, as someone, whenever I feel I have an anxiety attack or feeling depressed, I need that. I need to just save that clip and be like, yep, get back up, always get back up. Oh,
it was beautiful. And the
that
little
line,
Twilight moment,
yes,
with him on his back climbing up trees and shit. Like, he on your little spider monkey, and then looking into the floor. I'm like, oh god, I got very Twilight for that. That was funny.
Look at that. Look at the arc of Din Djarin, saying like, I am trusting you, Jedis. We're supposed to be rivals from our heritage.
Enemies.
I am trusting you. Make sure he gets this gift and he is protected. So,
Right.
and the fact that she must, they both, her and Luke, must have grown a tremendous respect for him to be like, he's trusting us with this child and trusting us to make right by this kid. And when she meets, the minute that you see Luke standing on a stone, and you see Ahsoka in the background, I was freaking out, dude, because I'm like, what are they gonna say? What is gonna be implemented right now? And seeing Grogu do the back flips and the front flips with the practice ball, and I mean,
looks so good. Looked so good with the animatronic, all of that.
Yes,
all of it. All I know is he better pick that damn chainmail. That's all I know. That lightsaber. You better pick that chainmail. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, the line that got me between them two was he says, I don't know if his heart is in it. And she just looks at him and be like, so much like your father. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. You have no
and he gives that look, which is really dope. Yes. I was like, oh, that's
sweet. And he asked her, will I see you again? She's like, perhaps. May the force be with you. Which I'm hoping either in her show they bring us that first time they meet and he tells her, like, she cries knowing that, wait, Anakin and Padme had kids? And, you know, like, there's that fan art. That's a nice fan art of her crying on her knees because she knows what this means, and him telling her, like, he came back. At the very end, he did came back to the light side. So I'm hoping for that moment. And
I think we'll get it.
And I'll say this. Yes, this is spinning off more towards non-Boba Fett stuff, but it pulled it back into this main thing. And if people really want to see Boba Fett, there are 4 episodes before these 2 last ones that have 3 hours of him. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's good or not, they're there. And I'm like, I will be shocked if Boba's still not as much in the pivotal part for the finale next week. I will be shocked if they do that. What do you think?
I think you will.
Yeah.
I think that's why we have these episodes essentially without him. Right. It's because I think it's going to be heavily prevalent in the finale with everybody else playing, you know, the background for this. Because even if, like I said, we don't see him beside the one time, even though he's not a focus in this episode, the story, at least half of it, still centers around his world storyline and his world and all that. Even though they're through characters that we love and recognize and from the past and things like that, they still serve for Boba's story in this episode. It's going a very nostalgic and you know, insane way to go about it, but it's still connective. So at least that's the part I liked in that aspect of it, outside of the Luke and Grogu arc for that.
I agree. I agree. I want justice for Lady Lady Garza, Whip, Jennifer Beals character. I want
Oh,
justice for
got you,
her
got you.
because
Yeah, she
Dan
got popped.
Pikes go and blow up the sanctuary, which I love that set. I love that part of this storyline. And I was the minute I saw the Cantono from Mando, the minute I saw him, like, that's probably a bomb. They're gonna blow
It
this
needed
place
to
up.
happen. Yeah, they needed to happen.
Rancor, that Rancor better come in the clutch next week. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying about that.
I hope they set it up, so they better not set it up just to do nothing. And I better see Danny Trejo too.
Yeah, folks, we're gonna have to conclude it for this week. Let's all give a big round of applause to Jon Knight for making it happen and joining us. John, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell the folks where they can find you. Plug yourself, man.
Well, you can find me on OnlyFans. No, you can find me on YouTube, Night Entertainment Network, where I host a live show of my own, The Film Cave, every Tuesday. So if you want to check that out, then Sir Ronan, he's always hanging out with us, so he will be there as well.
Yeah.
So come hang out with all of us, get nerdy, talk movies and TV and everything else that goes on in the world. And you can find me on social media, Jon Knight __ on everything, Knight with a K, as you see.
Beautiful. I'm gonna put the links to his channel and to his social medias, folks. Go check him out with him and Logan. It's always a hoot to go see what the hell they're talking about, whether it be entertainment or it's sports or what's happening.
It's something.
It's something to watch. And these 2 episodes have been we are spoiled. That's how I'll say that. For better or for worse, we are spoiled with how much you could feel in the writing, in the performances. You could feel that the people deeply care about this world, this universe, and know that they wouldn't be here without fans checking out. And they're very adamant, be like, listen, we're going to tell our story, for better or worse, how we want to tell it, but we know that we wouldn't be here without them. So I appreciate Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and Robert Rodriguez doing that. I respect that a lot.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you, folks, for checking out this episode. If you like it, subscribe to the channel, grow it out more. I want to have more people. There's a lot more to discuss about Star Wars and where the future leads us with these new upcoming Disney Plus shows or movies. But until then, may the Force be with you.